You would think that eating an incredible homemade meal night after night after night would get old. No, you just keep getting better and better. This is incredible.
Thank you.
Dad, can I have some more veggies, please?
You bet. More veggies for the big guy. All right, whose turn is it to help me with dishes tonight?
Me.
All right, you both can help me.
Yes!
I would like a 20-piece chicken popper. I'm trying to order food!
Awesome. Well, let's jump right into the final week of Ideal Family. And today is a very simple thing. The whole idea of this series has been to talk through, there is what our family is, the real family, and then there's what we consider to be ideal, or what God created our families to be ideal. And your family doesn't have to be mom, dad, and 2 kids. It's who you do life with. That's your family. Who you would consider to be family is who you do life with. And so God has an ideal for that, and the whole point of the series has been, and you can go back and watch all the other weeks, but the whole point has been to shore up that gap between what is real and what is ideal. Because we live in a society, in a world right now where that gap is getting bigger and bigger and bigger. What is real is getting farther away from what God's ideal is. And I want us to be able to bring those close together and be able to bridge that gap between what is real and ideal. And today I'm going to talk about what I believe is one of the most important parts of finding a way to have your family, the people you do life with, to be God's ideal, and it's to have ideal encouragement. It's to have ideal encouragement. We live in a world that is not good at encouraging. We live in a world that takes more joy in tearing you down than encouraging you, right? There's whole TV shows, there's whole TV networks based on it. You know, it's just what it is. It's like the idea is, I'm going to tear you down and tear you down. And even when there's somebody that we love and they're successful, we only let them stay successful long enough till they do something wrong and we can tear them down, right? And we used to be in a society that at least when we did that, we'd be like, yeah, now we can have the comeback story. And now we're like, no, they can't come back. We canceled them because they fell. And that's the world we live in. Encouragement has gone out the window. It just has, and we all need encouragement. I remember when Sarah and I had Linus, our middle son, we had Linus, and we were very careful when it came to Arliss, my oldest, who's back there right now. We were very careful. We wanted him to know that we were still there for him, even though all of our time at that moment was going to this new baby. At the time, my wife, she had broken her shoulder while she was 8 months pregnant. She had to have surgery on her shoulder to put like a titanium thing in there. And so like Linus, when he was a baby, was just the sweetest. She calls him her lamb, which is funny because he's like the rough and tumble football kid now. And he's just he'll tear you down, but he's awesome. Playing football, his favorite thing is to pancake people. And that's when he just lays them flat. It's his favorite thing in the world. But when he was a baby, she called him his lamb because he was so tender and so sweet. He was so patient with Sarah because she didn't have use of an arm. She had just had massive surgery on her shoulder. And at the same time, we're trying to deal with this brand new baby, and then we have Arliss. And we wanted him to know that even though we were spending so much time with the baby, that he was still important. We wanted him to get attention. And once I remember one time, and he won't remember this, he was little, but he's a very smart kid. And he heard us talking about this, me and Sarah talking about like making sure that we let him know that we're encouraging him and that we're there for him. And so he got out of bed when he wasn't supposed to that night. And he came in our room, and I told him to go back to bed. And I remember, and this is the quote that he said, and I'm not exaggerating this. This is what I think you were 3. He looks at me and he says, "But I get so jealous when you spend all of your attention on Linus. That's why I act out, Daddy." I laughed and put him back in bed, and at that moment, but the truth is, while I was laughing, I needed encouragement, because I knew it was a 3-year-old that was just trying to stay out of bed, part of me was still like, we've ruined him. Like, we've ruined him. And part of me was like, I need encouragement. Maybe he needs encouragement. I didn't know. And I didn't know what to do. And encouragement is when we make somebody feel better. We cheer them up, right? We pep talk them. But that's not all encouragement is. That might be all that is, if we go buy a card that's for encouragement for somebody at Hallmark, it might be that. But that's not really a total picture of what encouragement means, especially in the family. Encouragement means so much more. Today I want to talk about encouragement, and I'm going to use a guy that I absolutely love in the Bible. His name is Barnabas, and talk about encouragement. I wonder what sort of things that we need encouragement for, what ways in our lives each and every day that we're looking for encouragement, and how often we don't get it. Some of the things that when you feel let down on different things and you don't know what to do, and maybe what are the things that are going to encourage you? I mean, maybe it is a card for you. For some people, cards are my wife has an aunt, and cards, like greeting cards, are the most important thing to her in the world. And I didn't know that the first time I met her. And I don't care about cards at all. Like, when I get a card, I'm like, I pretend to read it as long as I'm supposed to, because I can tell how many words are on it. And I'm just joking. I actually read them, but I don't save cards. Like, some people have stacks of them. That's just not me. It's just not the way I operate. Thank you for the card. I appreciate it, but it's just not. It's never been something that really was a big deal to me. And I remember, I was the first time I met her aunt, and she gave us a card. I was like, oh, thanks. I'm like, cool. And she's like, don't you just love it? And she was like, don't you just love it? And I'm like, what's a card? And she starts crying, and I'm like, what did I do? And Sarah's like, she really likes cards. And I was like, okay. Some people, that's the best encouragement you could ever get is a card. For some of you, it's a simple phone call. It's an email. It's a text. It's a pep talk. For some of you, it's going to be somebody going, hey, let's go get your favorite food. Let's listen to your favorite music. What is it that's going to do that? And what other things in your life encourage you? And we all need encouragement from time to time, because things get tough. And when I say from time to time, really in today's society, I think all of us need encouragement every day. I think that we live in a society and in a world where we are living in a deficit of encouragement that is so massive. Depression is skyrocketing, suicide through the roof, all this stuff happening. I believe a big reason is because we live in a world that doesn't understand what it means to simply encourage somebody. And the best encouragement will always, music and movies and cards are great, but the best encouragement always comes person to person. And I believe that's why, as a family, it's one of the biggest things. If you go, encouragement is a lot like, if you go if you've ever done a marathon or a triathlon, back in the day, I did a lot of triathlons, and they have these guys called pacemakers, and not the ones inside your heart, but these are like pace setters. And what they do is they'll have a sign on them or something like that says, I run a 8-minute mile, I run a 10-minute mile, whatever. And they run that speed. They're not there to race necessarily, but they are there to be that speed. And so people that know, hey, I can run at a 10-minute mile. If I go faster than that, I'm gonna not have enough energy to finish the race. So they'll be a pacemaker, and they run alongside this person. And it encourages them to know that, hey, I'm keeping up with the pace I wanted to. I'm getting there when I wanted to. And that's really what encouragement is. What we need from a lot of us is we need somebody who will simply run alongside us in the middle of the hardship, who will simply be there with us. Somebody who just will simply be there with you and give you phrases like, come on, you can keep going. I believe in you. Don't give up. You can do it. And sometimes it's not even that. This week, yesterday, Linus and Texas had their football game, and I love it. I love going to the football. I have so much fun with it. And there is a new Netflix series out about the Dallas Cowboys, God's favorite team. Go Cowboys. And I've been watching it, and there was a clip in it that I said, Linus, come here, watch this. And it was Emmitt Smith, and he was in a NFC championship game, back in, I think it was 94, 95, and he got tackled. When he got tackled, he had a grade 3 separation of his shoulder. I don't know if you've ever separated your shoulder. I did once. It's not fun. It's a very painful thing. And he got taken out of the game, and he's off to the side, and the team's just struggling. They're struggling. And all his other friends, the players on the team, Michael Irvin and Troy Aikman, are coming to him, come on, dude, we need you. We need you. We need you. We need you. And in this documentary, they have Emmitt Smith talking. He goes, and so I sat there, and I just started telling myself what my cousin used to tell me when I was in football. And so yesterday, I'm at the football game, and Linus gets, they were at the end zone, and Linus gets stuck between 3 of their biggest dudes as they're trying to get over the end zone to get a touchdown. And as he's going down, I mean, it's a massive pile of kids, and like 3 kids' helmets caught him in the thigh. 2 right against each other this way, and another one up high. And he didn't move. And I'm sitting there like, that's Linus, and he's not moving. And finally I see him sort of move, and he comes off the side. He's just, And I've watched my son grow in a way that's really cool, because I let him go to the sideline. He didn't come straight to me. He went to the sideline, and he sat there. And I waited, and I walked over. And I said, you okay? And I could see he had been crying a little bit. He was going through it in this moment. And he told me what happened. I said, okay. And then I said the first part of the line that Emmitt Smith said in a documentary. And I watched in that moment, it was such encouragement. I looked at him and I said, Linus, if you can't take the pain, and he looks at me and goes, then you can't play the game. And he puts his helmet on, and he stands up and walks over to his coach and says, I'm ready to go back in. And that moment was a massive encouragement to him, simply by me saying something and him knowing, hey, I'm here with you. I'm not going to play this game for you. This is yours. This is your battle. But I'm here with you. I'm standing with you. And he knew it. And some of us just don't have that. We are walking through battles every day, and we feel like we are utterly alone. Some of us aren't alone, but we feel like it because we're trying to push everybody else away because we want to be alone. That's a sermon for a different day. The fact is that when we have encouragement in our family, it's somebody that's willing to just link arms with us. There's somebody that's willing to pull us up, that's willing to just be there in the middle of the hardship and say, hey, I'm going to help you get through it. It's ideal for families to encourage one another. But let's get real for a second. We don't. I mean, we might in the big moments, but it's not a day-to-day thing. I remember, one of my favorite stories is about my sister, Emily. I love this story because there's no encouragement involved in this story whatsoever. I was about 12 years old, and we're in the living room watching a TV show, and she's watching her show, and I'm being a 12-year-old brother, which means I'm trying to annoy my sister. Like, anybody else, you try to annoy your sister, your siblings? I'm sitting there just trying to annoy her. And for some reason, 11, 12-year-old Johnny thought annoying his sister meant roaring like a lion. I didn't say it made sense, okay, people? And so I'm on the floor, she's on the couch, I'm like, roar! And she's like, stop it! I'm trying to roar! Stop it! Roar! And she's like, stop it! And she stands up and fully soccer kicks my face. Not like, hey, I'm passing it, but like, hey, I'm messy and I'm going for the goal at the other end. Seriously, I think Emily was like, like that. And I go, and my glasses go flying off and they're spinning through the air. It was slow motion. It was awesome. I can remember it like it was yesterday. And they hit the brick fireplace, and it was like a scene from The Matrix. Like, they were going to break, and we knew it, but it was going to take a second. They went, boom. And I turned and looked at her, and it hurt. I mean, she had just, punted my face. But I didn't respond to the pain. I went, oh, I can get her in trouble more. And I look at her, and she was like, and I go, Mom! And Emily, it was the best, my favorite moment. That's one of my favorite things. She goes, and she goes running out the back door, the sliding glass door. Only the screen was shut. And she hit it fully running and ripped it off of the track. She goes, wham, and falls to the ground on our back porch, jumps up, goes, and then runs out the back door and takes off. And my mom comes down and she's like, what? I'm like, she kicked me in the face and my glass broken. Where is she? She's like, Emily goes outside, can't find her. 10 minutes go by, and then my mom starts freaking out, and we're like, where's Emily? And all of a sudden, like, I'm out with no glasses on riding a bike, yelling for Emily. She's driving around the neighborhood looking for her. We finally find her 3 blocks over. She's hiding inside somebody's bushes in front of their house. We've never met these people. There's just a crying girl. The worst part is that my mom was so happy that she got her baby girl back that she never got in trouble for kicking me in the face. At all. Nothing, I was just roaring. I did not have it coming. In that moment, I needed encouragement, and I did not get it. Wouldn't it be good, church, if in your family you were known as an encourager? Wouldn't that be great? If people looked at Discover Church and said, man, that's a church that has a lot of encouragers in it. I feel good when I'm around them because they're willing to run the race with me. Not to say that things are perfect and that things are always going to be great, but they're there for me in the middle of it, encouraging me. There was a guy like that in the Bible, Barnabas. His real name was Joseph, if you guys don't know, Barnabas. His real name was Joseph, but he was given the name of encourager. Really, he was given the name son of encouragement. And for them, that meant that the name for that was Barnabas. And so they called him. And the Bible tells us about so many leaders, so many heroes of our faith that we talk about. But Barnabas is one that maybe you've heard of, maybe you haven't, but it's definitely a guy that gets overlooked. You know, I mean, we all know that Barnabas was a part of Paul's journeys, right? Paul gets all the limelight, right? He gets all the headlines. It's Paul, and Paul's great. I have no problem with that, but Barnabas was there too, and we never talk about him. I feel like I'm feeling the need to encourage Barnabas right now, but it's the truth. But when you trace the story of Barnabas, what you see is that he was never the loudest preacher. He was never the famous missionary, but he was one who consistently built up others. He was one who consistently gave people a second chance when nobody else would. He was one who consistently opened up the doors for people around them for the gospel. And his life, I believe, teaches us what it means to be an encourager in God's kingdom. And so I want to go through a few steps of what Barnabas did that was encouragement. And I want you to take what I talk about today and see how you can apply. How can you be Barnabas in your family and in your life like this? To help close the gap between what the world says is normal and what we know is ideal. First thing is that Barnabas, he encouraged the church, and he did it through his generosity. He did it through his generosity. The first time we ever meet Barnabas is in Acts, and it's Acts chapter 4. It's when we find out that he was a guy named Joseph, actually. Most people don't. Most of us that have heard about Barnabas never knew his name was Joseph, because they only talk about it in this one verse, really. And we don't, the first time we meet Barnabas, he's not preaching. He's not teaching, but instead, God introduces us to Barnabas when he is being generous and he is giving. He sells a field and he brings the money to the apostles, and he's doing it not to give money to the church, but to help meet the needs of those that are in the church, to be an encouragement to those that are struggling, they're having a hard time. We see it in Acts chapter 4, 36, 37. For instance, there was Joseph, the one apostles nicknamed Barnabas, which means son of encouragement. He was from the tribe of Levi, and he came from the island of Cyprus. He sold a field he owned and brought the money to the apostles. And he did this not because he had to. And I want you to understand that Barnabas right here, I'm not talking about money right here. This is not what I'm talking about. This is what he did right here was money, but that's not what I'm talking about. Barnabas wasn't giving money. I mean, he was, but what he was doing in this moment was giving encouragement. He was able to say, look, I'm here for you in the middle of your hard times. His generosity in this moment, it reminded all the believers that God would provide for their needs. They've been told over and over and over again, like, our God is a provider, Jehovah Jireh. He will provide for the needs that you have. And all of a sudden, Barnabas says, all right, I think that's my cue. I'm going to do that. I want to encourage people to know that God is providing. He can use my gift to do it if he wants. His example, I think right here, it challenges us. Do we as people use what God has entrusted us to build up others, to build up the church, to build up our family, to strengthen them? Or do we keep it to ourselves? And like I said, I'm not talking about just money. I'm talking about your time. Do you use it to build others up, or do you keep it to yourself? I'm talking about your talents. Do you use them to build others up, or do you keep it to yourself? And yes, your treasure, giving financially too. Do you use these things for yourself, or are you using them to encourage those that are around you? Can I tell you that one of the best ways of encouraging somebody is just your time. Just spending time with them. Just saying, hey, I'll hang out. I'll talk. Barnabas wasn't just giving money, and giving is far more than financial. And we know this because, biblically speaking, the Bible talks about giving more than anything else. By far. Like 4 times more than prayer. And there's a reason for it. It's not because God's greedy or he wants to take everything from you. It's because God understands that when you give of your time, when you give of your talents, when you give of your treasure, when you give of things that are important to you, it's tied to your heart. If you want to know what's important to you, look at your bank statement. Look at where your time goes. That's what's important to you. You can't tell me something's important if you don't put any time, any of your talents, or any of your treasure towards it. It's not important to you if you don't. And the Bible teaches us that over and over and over again. That it's tied to who you are as a person. And Barnabas was saying, hey, I am here to encourage you. And I'm willing to put my money where my mouth is. And he encouraged that way through his generosity. Another thing that Barnabas did is he encouraged the outsiders. He encouraged people that were outside of him, that were outside of the group. If you go back in the Bible and you read, most of us have read about Paul, all right? Paul's dramatic conversion to the church. And the church was suspicious of him. I mean, and wouldn't you be? Like, dude, yesterday you were trying to kill us and throw us in jail. And now I'm supposed to just believe that you believe the same thing as me? And not only believe it, but let you teach us about it? Like, seriously? I understand them being cautious. And this is the man who had persecuted them. This is the man who had thrown them in prison, who had attacked them, who had spoken ill of them as loud as possible. And honestly, the disciples in this moment, they thought it was a trap. Like, he's not really doing this. This is a trap. But Barnabas, I love this because Barnabas took the risk. He listened to Paul and he believed in his testimony. He listened to him and he believed, and then he did this in Acts chapter 9. Then Barnabas brought him to the apostles and told them how Saul had seen the Lord on the way to Damascus. This is verse 27. You can throw it there for me. Barnabas brought him to the apostles and told them how Saul had seen the Lord on the way to Damascus and how the Lord had spoken to Saul. By the way, side note, Saul is Paul here. Just letting you guys know. He also told them that Saul had preached boldly in the name of Jesus in Damascus. So Barnabas comes up here and says, hey, here's this dude, Saul, Paul. By the way, but just so you guys know, Saul and Paul, same guy. His name was not changed. One is Hebrew, the other is Greek, and he would use the name that he needed to be able to let people hear his message. He knew if he walked in and said, hey, I'm Paul, then a certain group of people would listen to him preach. In other places, he would be Saul. And so I know growing up as a kid, I was always told, oh no, God changed his name. He didn't really change his name. Saul and Paul are the same guy. And so you'll see it interchanged throughout the Bible. But Barnabas, what did he do? He listens to him. And he says, not only do I believe you, but I'm going to take you myself to the apostles, the ones that are scared of you. And he took him to the apostles and says, guys, you need to listen to him because God's done something here. Apostles, God did something for you, right? Why can't he do it for Saul? And so he says, hey, tell him. And so Saul starts telling him, and he told them, and then Barnabas not only doesn't just sit there and just let him do it, but Barnabas looks at him and says, not only is he telling you guys what God's done in his life right now, but I've watched him. I watched him in Damascus preach boldly that he loves Jesus. He loves Jesus. And this dude, I mean, think about it. If it wasn't for Barnabas, we might not have 2/3 of the New Testament. If it wasn't, because sometimes we go, well, being an encourager, that's not really important. Really? Ask Paul. Because if it wasn't for him, he wouldn't have had the support of the apostles. He wouldn't have been able to go out and preach the gospel the way he wanted to. All of a sudden, without Barnabas, it might not have ever been. Because Paul would not have been welcomed into the fellowship. But Barnabas was an encourager and says, I will encourage you not just to preach, but I'm going to encourage the disciples to accept you. Encouragement, I believe, listen to this right here as we come towards the end today. Encouragement looks a lot like this. It looks like standing beside the one that others overlook. Standing beside the one that others fear. And then helping them to find their place in the family of Christ. That is encouragement. We live in a world that is full of people that feel unnoticed, unseen, and a lot of you are here. And encouragement is being able to stand up and go, I see you. Not only do I see you, but I believe in you. I want to see what God does in your life. I want you to find your place. That's our next series as we go into 4 Cups. We're going to be talking about you finding your place. Some of the things you hear us say around this church, if you're around for a little while, you hear us say it. I believe that every one of you is a 10 at something, that God created you. The Bible says God created you on purpose, for a purpose, with a purpose. That before you were formed in your mother's womb, that he had a plan for you. And I want you to find that plan. And you will never find true fulfillment in your life until you're operating in the gifts and in the way that God created you to operate. It just won't work. And this is exactly what Barnabas did. Who are the outsiders in your life right now that you need to be, that God may be calling you to welcome? Who are the outsiders in our church that God might be calling you to encourage? You don't know which one of them is going to be the next Paul. It's amazing. Not only did that happen, but Barnabas encouraged the church itself. I love this. Because he encouraged the church itself. When the gospel reached the Gentiles or the non-Jewish people in Antioch, the leaders in Jerusalem, they were nervous. They were like, even though Jesus told us that he was for everybody, he's still one of us. And they didn't want to necessarily encourage that. And so they went, hey, Barnabas, why don't you go and see what's going on? And so Barnabas went to Antioch to see what was happening. And he saw the grace of God at work in Antioch. And instead of being skeptical, Barnabas decided to rejoice. Which makes sense to us when we read it now, but you got to understand, it's like we live in a society today, man, politically speaking, each side hates the other side. And even if the other side does something good that we should like, we're like, I don't believe in that. Even though you might really do. If your side did that thing, you'd be all about it. But the other side did it. So I got to be angry. This is where they were at. Just trying to give you guys some context. If God had made a giant move and grown more and more and more in Jerusalem, they would have been like, yeah! And they're like, it's Antioch. They're like, I don't know about that. I don't know if God can do that. And they're like, well, really? So Barnabas goes and he's like, I'm not going to be skeptical. I'm going to rejoice with you. Listen to what it says in Acts 11, verse 23. When he arrived, he saw this evidence of God's blessing. The first thing he says is not, hey, I was worried about it, but it was okay. No, he said, I just see evidence of God's blessing. Was he skeptical? No, he was filled with joy. Was he worried? No, he encouraged the believers. He said, you guys are doing awesome. Keep going. Keep going. God has more for you. Stay true to what God has for you. So not only did Barnabas strengthen the local church in Antioch, but just a couple verses later, he also went and he found Paul to help in that ministry. And together they went there to Antioch, Barnabas and Paul, when he sees all these people coming to know Jesus. And so he says, I'm not just going to sit by. I want to encourage you so much. I'm so excited for you. So he goes, I'm going to go get Paul. And he goes, gets Paul, and they both go there and they spend an entire year preaching and teaching the believers in Antioch. This is the very first group of people in the history of the world that were called Christians. Because Barnabas encouraged them. Barnabas' encouragement leads to so much. Sometimes encouragement isn't just kind words. It's rolling up your sleeves and diving in with them. And he goes, I'm going to serve you for a year. Barnabas also encouraged his friend. It's the final one here. He encouraged his friends. He encouraged his family. On their very first missionary journey, Barnabas brought along one of his younger relatives. So it was a friend, a family member, a guy named John Mark. They called him Mark. And Mark left early. Now, we don't know all the reasons why, but he left and went home. And Paul did not like that. Paul was a by-the-book kind of guy, and he was, instead of an encourager, he was like, no, you're doing something wrong. You should stay here. Why are you leaving us? You're deserting us. And so later, Barnabas wants Mark to come out with them again. Hey, I want to bring Mark out with us again. And Paul completely disagreed. In fact, he disagreed so much, the disagreement was so big that Barnabas and Paul split off and started doing ministry separately. It says in Acts chapter 15, verse 37 to 39, Barnabas agreed and wanted to take along John Mark, but Paul disagreed strongly since John Mark had deserted them in Pamphylia and had not continued with them in their work. Their disagreement was so sharp that they separated. Barnabas took John Mark with him and sailed for Cyprus. Barnabas chose in this moment to stand with somebody who had done something. I want you to hear this right now, church, because this is something that the church is missing right now. Barnabas chose to stand with somebody who had done something wrong. He didn't choose to cast dispersions on them. He didn't choose to be judgy or angry or make some well-worded post. Every one of you is a failure at something. We've all failed. If your worst failure goes public, the church should not be a place that attacks you, but should be a place that encourages you to find your way back to the grace and the mercy and the love that Jesus has for you. The church should be Barnabas. He looked at John or Mark and he said, hey, John Mark, I want you to come with me. He chose to stand by him, even when it cost him his partnership with Paul. Because Barnabas believed in something that Jesus believes in, and that the church says we believe in, but a lot of times we don't live up to it. He believed in second chances, and third, and fourth, and fifth, and sixth, and 10th chances. He believed in that. He believed that your failures don't have to define you. That God is the one who gets to define you. He created you on purpose, for a purpose, with a purpose. And he said, John Mark, I want you with me. Here's the thing, the crazy part in this little moment, Paul is the one who forgot what Barnabas had done for him. Paul forgot that, wait a minute, you don't want him to come because he failed. You were trying to kill us, dude. And I brought you along. Now, he doesn't say that because Barnabas was a good guy. But I can read. And all of a sudden, I see that Paul forgot what Barnabas did to encourage him. And got angry and said, no, you go do your own thing. Here's what's really cool, though. But eventually, Paul figures it out. Mark grows into this incredibly faithful servant of God. So much so that later, Paul himself comes back around. He doesn't just come back around like going, okay, yeah, Mark's cool. No, listen what it says in 2 Timothy 4:11. Only Luke is with me. Why don't you bring Paul when you come? For he will be helpful to me in my ministry. Do you love that? All of a sudden, Paul's figured it out. Wait a minute, I was wrong about you, Mark. I should have been the encourager that Barnabas was. Bring Mark. He's going to be awesome. He's going to do so good. Encouragement means sticking with people, even when they stumble. I do not want Discover Church to be a place where we write people off simply because you've sinned. That is not who we are. That is not the church we will be. We will be a church that says, yeah, you screwed up, but we're here for you. You screw up again, we're still here for you because Jesus is still here for you. And if I'm going to call myself a Christian, I better act like Jesus. Because his love and his desire to see you come to know him and have a relationship with him doesn't go away because you screwed up. So why does the church decide to blacklist people and say, you're not allowed to be a part of this anymore because you've just messed up? That's not who we are. That doesn't mean there aren't repercussions for the things we do wrong. There are. We live in a world where you're going to pay the price sometimes. There might be things that you're not allowed to do or be a part of because of the mistakes you made. But that still does not negate the fact that God made you on purpose, for a purpose, with a purpose, and we are here to be Barnabas to you. And that's what we should be too, to our family, to our friends. So many people feel like they are worthless pieces of garbage because of their failures. And if you would simply come up and go, I know you failed, but Jesus still loves you and so do I. I'm here for you. Let's go together. Like Barnabas did. Who in your life needs that kind of encouragement? Someone to believe in them even when they failed. So here's the big idea today. Really simple. Be a Barnabas. Be Barnabas to people around you. Barnabas' story shows us that encouragement isn't small. It's not this small thing. It can change. It can absolutely change the course of people's lives. His encouragement strengthened the church in Jerusalem. His boldness gives us Paul, an outsider. His leadership built up the very first group of people that were called Christians. His loyalty gave Mark a second chance. Everywhere Barnabas went, he left people behind that were stronger, that were braver, and that were more faithful to the heart and vision and mercy and grace and message of Jesus Christ. You may not be a preacher. You may not be like Paul, a great missionary. But every one of you can be an encourager. Especially when it comes to your family. Here's the cool thing, church. I'm closing right here. When you give of yourself generously, when you welcome outsiders, when you serve faithfully, and when you believe in those who need a second chance, you're reflecting the heart of Jesus. Those are all things that Jesus did. Every disciple that didn't want to give Paul a second chance had all already been given a second chance by Jesus. When Paul didn't want to give Mark a second chance, he forgot that he had been given a second chance too. So today I want you to ask yourself a simple question. Who can I encourage this week? Who can I stand beside? Who can I support? Who can I build up? Because God can use your encouragement this week to raise up the next Paul or the next Mark or help discover as the next Antioch church in our community. How can you be someone who is an encourager in your family today? I wonder what encouraging things you can say or do to help those who feel left out or left down. Let's be Barnabas. You want your family to be more ideal? Stop bickering and being angry. Stop fighting. Stop pointing out the terrible things or the things that are mistakes, but instead say, I'm going to encourage you. I'm going to support you. I'm going to be there for you. I might not agree with what you do or what you did, but I'm still here for you. Be Barnabas. Would you guys bow your heads as we close right here?